Three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Unsolicited Lifting Advice. My name is Sam.
My name is Manas.
Thank you for joining us again on this wonderful afternoon. We appreciate your support as always. We've got a good one, an excellent one as always. Starting a little bit of a series, a mini series as you were. Simplified series, if I can get it out of my stupid mouth. This will be a simplified series. So today we are going to be doing the fundamentals of weight loss, a simplified series. So this will be a 35,000 to like 15,000 foot view. We're going to give, again, just why we're, obviously nothing super specific to any individuals because we can't do that. That's for a registered dietitian. But we will give the fundamentals, some overarching principles to follow, relying on the information and evidence from people like Dr. Lane Norton, Dr. Stephen Cohen, Ed Helms, and our usual cast of experts who we refer to.
People with letters after their names.
Lots of letters after their names, and the trophies to back up those letters.
Oh, God, yes.
So, yeah, this is for anyone who is new to effective weight loss. We have both had positive experience in that front personally, following some of these principles, obviously tailoring them to our specifics, kind of our goals and that sort of thing. And hopefully, after listening to this episode, you will have a better handle on how to do that for yourself. So I don't think they can hear that. That'll be fine. So we're just going to hop right in. Manas, let's... what's the first thing? The very first thing.
The very first basic of weight loss?
The foundation of weight loss.
Calories in, calories out. I know that this is one of those things that when it gets debated, I'm all for scientific skepticism. Science is based on skepticism. However, you can have a little too much of a good thing. And when you start doubting the law of thermodynamics, and or the conservation of matter, you're going a little over the deep end. Now, obviously, this isn't a one-sentence, 5-minute podcast. We're not going to leave it at calories in and calories out. However, at the end of the day, if we are only looking at it in weight loss and weight gain and not the quality of the weight lost or gained, both of them come down to nothing other than calories in and calories out.
Yeah.
And so, by extension, weight loss comes down to boom. That said, obviously there's a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah.
Sam, if you want to jump in.
Yeah. So, there's so many different diets out there that will have you focus on whether it's keto, paleo, carnivore, vegan, vegetarian, intermittent fasting, if it fits your macros. There are a lot of different ways that people achieve the goal of calorie restriction. And when we're talking about weight loss, that's just simplifying calories in, calories out, is you want to be eating less calories than you are burning. Just we'll keep it simple that way. So there are a lot of different ways that you can achieve this. Again, the fundamentals truly do come down to if you burn more calories than you eat, you will lose weight.
100% of the time.
What the variations of the diets and the different things, what that really comes down to is your ability to adhere to it, and then obviously what's the quality of weight you want to lose in this case. So are you wanting to maximize your fat loss versus just straight, I just want to lose weight? And I think for a lot of our audience, we want to retain the muscle we have built, maybe are building, while maximizing fat loss. And again, that really still just is with exercise, calories, eating less calories than you're consuming. So if you personally find you can stick to the keto diet, and that's a diet that you can enjoy and you find sustainable food choices, cool, totally fine. Even with things like carnivore, which has gotten some very due skepticism on just the nature of only eating meat. People like Dr. Lane Norton, recently, I don't know how recently, but it said that, okay, if you're able to stick to this and you understand some of the holes that diet proposes, particularly fibers and a lot of the things that the leafy greens will give you, you can lose weight effectively on that, because again, it really just does come down to calories in versus calories out.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at different ways of restricting your calories, and you do want to go down one of, let's call it, quote unquote, traditional roads of, if it fits your macros, low carb, so to speak, or whatever it is, if you burn more calories than you are taking in, you will lose weight. The sustainability, again, that's food choices, and then kind of the diet habits, which we've kind of touched on before with our personal journeys, ways that we found to maximize our adherence and not getting diet fatigue. But I'm not on a low carb diet right now. I
never could be.
Yeah, they're too tasty.
Way
And
too good.
they're great for calories, obviously. But just with knowing calories in, calories out, it does help kind of setting up some kind of routine, as that allows you to know every day, okay, this is what I'm taking in, and then kind of moving forward and adjusting as needed.
Yep. So two things off of that. First off, with Dr. Norton talking about the carnivore diet, what he did not say, and what you will not hear either of us say, is the carnivore diet is the diet that like this is a recommended diet. First of all, fibers, good for you.
Very good.
Leafy greens, good for you. Even most hardcore proponents, not all, like even they'll admit, hey, fiber's probably something you should still have in your diet. They're just saying that that's not always something they've also maintained in what they're personally doing. Just sticking with the principles that we've already talked about so far, it's easy to see why the carnivore diet would work great for weight loss. Protein is very satiating. If you're full, you're not going to want to eat. Not a lot of calories going into you. Therefore, once again, thermodynamics, weight loss.
Calories in, calories out.
Boom. That said, the reason why Dr. Norton said that is we're talking about a hypothetical of someone who's saying, hey, I can't even do keto or low carb. We're talking about the only diet I could possibly see myself adhering to is carnivore. And at that point, for the sake of weight loss that obviously we're presuming this individual has some they need to lose in order to improve health markers, for that reason, stick with it, go with it, lose the weight, and then we'll deal with the rest later.
Yes.
Which brings up one of my favorite fun facts that I've learned since we started hosting this podcast. Sam, a couple weeks ago, you brought up the example of the professor who ate Oreos and Twinkies to lose weight.
Yeah.
And I'd heard of it a bit, but I didn't know that much about it, and you brought it up, and it was interesting. So I went back in my free time to just try to learn a little bit more about it. And boy, does it get interesting. First of all, his diet literally was, he had one protein shake a day and a fiber supplement. Other than that, he ate all Twinkies, Oreos, just
Doritos.
Run-of-the-mill, just textbook.
Nonsense.
Exactly. And that's where you would expect to come back with a cool, well, he lost weight, but how are his health markers? They went up. Every single one of his blood markers went up. And that just goes to show that while, again, that doesn't mean this is healthy, period, and that doesn't mean that that's the diet you should follow. We're not falling into, the huge traps of something like if it fits your macros. That does go to show that when weight loss is necessary, losing that weight will improve your health markers regardless. And solid like 90-95% at least of the improvement in health markers isn't coming from your macronutrients or from your diet composition. It's just coming from the fact that you're getting to a healthier weight.
Yeah.
Obviously, that can be taken too far, but
Yeah.
that's something we'll probably touch on in our muscle gain
Yeah,
simplified video.
yeah. So again, this one is just focusing on fundamentals of weight loss, and again, the key we're really trying to drive home right now is that it is truly at the base of it all about calories in over calories out.
Yes.
So if you want to lose weight, again, you can. It is possible to eat Twinkies and Oreos and Doritos and donuts and still lose weight.
Also, in his case, he ate 1,800 calories a day.
Yeah.
And I'm losing weight. I've lost right around 15 pounds this year, and I don't eat 1,800 calories a day. And I'm 5'7", and as of now, 146 pounds. I can pretty much guarantee that man was bigger than I was.
Yeah.
So for him to be eating 1,800, he's going to lose some weight.
Yeah, and you'll have things with that where, like, I mean, you won't feel like, I can't imagine eating that style of diet for that long and feeling too great, having energy. And again, that's the bigger realities of the importance of a healthy, well balanced diet. But again,
that was an experiment conducted to prove a very particular point,
very very specific point. So again, the fundamentals. Step one: calories expended over calories eaten. So the next thing that we feel, and again is kind of replicated in the people with letters, is consistency. So you are going to have to, whatever you choose, whether it's keto, vegan, carnivore, whatever it is, if it fits your macros, you have to be consistent with it. And this is something that we've both found out. I'm definitely finding out now for sure, is that you have to stick to it for, I mean, in theory, you want to choose something you can do for life in some form or fashion, obviously adjusting as your goals do. But whatever your eating habit is, you want it to be something you can do consistently, and you are not going to see results super quick, sustainably. So I've had times where I think I lost like almost 20 pounds in a month one time.
Yeah.
Just, like that was like cutting out. I did the low carb thing. I wasn't eating any bread or whatever. It was like salads and proteins, drinking water. But then like at the end of it, because that wasn't a sustainable pattern of eating for me, I put it all back on after X amount of time. So you are going to have to be consistent. With that being said, little bumps in the road aren't going to throw you off. So
I would argue little bumps in the road are good. Especially when it comes to applying this to people getting on stage or on a platform. At that point, we can start looking a little more at, hey, like, what's the timing of the bump? How big is it? Yada, yada. When it comes to people's recreational bodybuilders, recreational powerlifters, people just trying to be healthier, what have you, at that point, I'd say little bumps are probably good in the road. They're very good for you.
Yeah.
As long as they're genuine bumps and not consistent fallbacks.
Yeah.
Because if it's consistently happening at that point, hey, what can I adjust to make this something that I can stick to better? If it happens once in a while, you're human.
Yep.
When like the people who win medals have these too, you can't expect yourself not to. Two, it's like the little bits aren't terrible for you. Even people like this year, I've been probably the best I've ever been about adherence, but this year I also plan in high carb days.
Yep.
And I plan in whenever I do a deload week, I'm also eating at a caloric maintenance the entire time. I'm really just taking a break from everything.
Yeah.
So I'm giving myself, my body and my mind a chance to like step out of this and take a break from everything. This week right now, we're recording this on Saturday, April 3rd. I'm right at the end of my deload week right now. And told you about yesterday for lunch, I impulse ordered
sushi. And...
like my body weight in sushi.
Yeah.
I had like half a loaf of bread and juice because I had the carbs and I like bread and I like juice.
So yeah, if you're eating, you've chosen your pattern of eating, whether it's a diet or just a different pattern of eating, and then your buddy goes, "Hey, let's go watch the game and get wings." Yeah, that's not going to kill you. It's not going to throw your entire program off. And like Mana said, unless it spirals into the next 3 months of getting wings every night,
And even then, like, yeah, if it's doing that every single time, no. And if it's something that, hey, I want to be there socially, and I want to do that every time, okay. At that point, that's fine. If that's something that's there every week, that's something we can plan around and make that happen. It's not a problem. If it's like one unplanned event, you could try to adjust for it. Two, if you're not going like that far overboard, it's one day, one meal.
Yeah.
And again, if you didn't go that far overboard, who cares? Give yourself a break.
Yep. Sanity checks.
And if it is something that's happening often again, we can plan around it. And if we can't, then at that point, okay, are we sticking with this? Are we sticking with that? And just find a way to make it work. There's worst case, you can find something else to eat and still get to spend time with your friend.
Yep.
And hopefully the reason you want to do is to spend time with a friend.
Yes.
Because if you want to do just to get that food in you, that might be emblematic of the fact that this isn't a sustainable thing, and that's a larger problem.
Yep.
I guess the next thing we probably want to talk about, you should be exercising.
Should be physically active.
Now, strictly looking at calories in and calories out, technically you don't have to be.
Yeah.
However, just about, and the only reason I'm not saying literally everyone is because someone's going to find like,
some example, yeah.
Exactly. Almost every single person that manages to lose weight and sustain that weight loss exercises. And when you look at the fact that most people that lose a significant amount of weight put it back on, like when you do that, purely statistically speaking, you are more likely to return to your starting point than you are to stay at what you've come down to. When almost everyone that succeeds has a habit, that's probably a habit that should be paid some attention to. I personally will add on that while you should exercise, yes, I think that you should also do some form of resistance training.
Yep.
I'm not telling you need to go in there and start aiming to squat, deadlift 2-3 times your body weight. Absolutely not. You're not interested in that, that's fine. Who cares? But whatever form of exercise you find works for you, doing well at that, first off, may already be a form of resistance exercise.
Yeah.
Second of all, if it's not, probably would be benefited by resistance exercise. Even to the point of, if you're a runner, and that's your thing, more power to you. Even in that case, you're probably going to be benefited by some form of resistance training. I don't want to get super specific with it because that's not my forte, and I'm not here to lie to you. But it, one way or another, it can help. Also, the biggest thing with the resistance training, and with exercise in general, resistance training can help you put on muscle. If you're not in a large deficit and you're an untrained or detrained athlete, it is fairly realistic for you to put on some muscle during a weight loss phase. Even if not, once you finish your weight loss phase, you're going to be very primed to put on some muscle. Assuming like that's when you start eating more. Having this can help you put on that muscle, and having more muscle will allow you to eat more and stay lean compared to your previous state. The nice little rule of thumb is around, and we'll get into exactly what BMR means in a second, but it's basal metabolic rate.
Literally a second, okay.
Well, I'll explain what it means in a second. But having an extra pound of muscle on you will raise your BMR by a rule of thumb around 50 calories a day. 2 pounds of muscle on you. That's one extra beer you can have every single day.
Over your base.
Compared to past you.
Yeah.
Without putting on any weight. You're welcome. That's a pro tip.
Yeah, so before we get into BMR and metabolism, other things, just again, the 3 basics, just the 3 things that across the board seem to be replicable in the data and the literature is calories in over calories out. So if you eat less calories than you burn, you will lose weight. Consistency. So whatever eating pattern you choose, make it something you can be consistent in, and then you should be performing some kind of exercise, ideally some kind of resistance training, whether that's calisthenics or getting in the gym and weightlifting with a trainer, whatever it is. You should be exercising. At the bare minimum, you should definitely just be moving your body in an active fashion, whether you're playing sports with your church group or pick up soccer with the homies. But yeah, those are the things. Calories in, calories out. Be consistent, and you should be exercising. That is the if I had to tattoo how to lose weight on my body, it would be those three things.
Yes. And honestly, you would do it.
I'm gonna get a couple sleeves. I might throw it somewhere.
Just sneak it somewhere in there.
Here. Oh, and then the fourth
what
one
does that mean? Well,
fourth one is just Lane Norton. His name tattooed across the top of my abs.
Doctor.
See, Dr. Lane Norton.
Put some respect on that.
And all of his certifications, so basically go down my inner thighs.
Keep some space down there, so as he continues to get
his stuff. All right, so you brought up BMR. Let's talk about metabolism. Again, we're not going to go super deep, but there are just
a surface level view of
some good things that can be helpful in this conversation and just kind of help provide more context.
Yes.
Because we like context.
Yes. So metabolism is made up of 4 components. The first and the biggest of them, by far, is your BMR. So that is your basal metabolic rate. BMR is basically if you took your body and you were laying down in a bed all day long, no movement, no anything, how many calories would you burn? That's X. That's the number that, rule of thumb, goes up by 50 calories every time you put on muscle. So yeah, that's also like the there's that adage of like, oh well, like if you lose weight, you have to eat that way for the rest of your life because otherwise it's gonna go back up. Like no, your weight loss diet should be less than your weight maintenance diet. If not, we've got issues, and honestly, by we I mean you need to go see an RD.
Yeah,
that needs a specialist. However, what is true, if I ate a certain way that had me put on, let's take my example. Since my starting point, I've lost almost 40 pounds. If I went back to eating now how I was eating then, 100%, I'm starting to put that weight down. I'm a little more active now than I'm a fair amount more active now than I was then, so I wouldn't put that weight on as quickly as I did the first time. I'm still gonna put the weight on. I'm just eating a lot. I was living life. Not to say I'm not now. However, okay, we're gonna drop some weight, and then we can increase calories again once we're at a point where we're happy with. And now, yeah, we're not eating quite as much as we used to on a daily, consistent basis. However, we're still eating more. Now, from that point, if we decide, okay, let's start putting some muscle on us, now we can start eating more. Before I get back to the 4 components of this, I was having a conversation with my mom about 2 weeks ago. She was talking to me about the way I used to eat and all of that, and also like it was a family thing. So I sat down and I chowed down. She's like, I haven't seen you eat that much in a while. I'm like, that felt good. And then she was talking to me about like the weight I've lost and some of my like longer term goals with this. My mother also thinks I'm so much stronger than I ever am.
Well, that's a mom's job.
Because I'll come home and I'll be like, hey, guess what I lifted? And then the numbers don't really have... So I came in and I was like, oh, guess what I deadlifted? And she's like, I don't know, like 600 pounds. And I'm like, no. I'm flattered.
Yeah.
But, like, a little more than half of that. But I was explaining to my mom that, yeah, really one of the biggest reasons I got into all of this lifting stuff is because I realized that if I get big, I can eat big without getting big.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I need. So, back to topic. The first and largest component of your metabolism is your BMR. The next component is your thermic effect of food, or TEF. Again, real surface level. Basically, what that means is all of the food you eat expends some amount of calories in order to be broken down by your body. Um, if you're interested for like fats and carbs, it's around 15% of the calories they give you will be used up in digesting them. For proteins, about like 35%. Um, I'm not going to go too in depth there because if what I just said piques your interest, we can point at videos by people with letters who can explain these in a much more science grounded and in depth fashion. But that's TEF. So it's 2 down, 2 to go. Next, we've got exercise, just what you burn when you're running, when you're lifting, all of that. Why that's part of your metabolism should be fairly self-explanatory.
Yep.
And I don't fairly sure anyone listening to us knows it. So we're just gonna move on to the best for last, NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's a mouthful. That's just all of the movement that your body does outside of conscious exercise. And so that's the fidgeting you do around the day. That's walking to the grocery store, going up and down the stairs to do laundry, down to how much you fidget in your sleep. Like large parts of this are entirely unconscious. There's not anything you can do about it. When you look at similar sized individuals with similar exercise routines who have different calorie requirements in order to maintain their weight, that comes down normally to differences in needs. So one person's more fidgety throughout the day, one person has a more active job, and so on. So even though their workout routine's exactly the same, they're the same height, build, all of that, they can have hundreds, if not 1,000 calorie difference in what they need just because of this.
So this would be why, like, if people who get like standing desks or parking a little farther away from your office to get in, taking the stairs, like the little things like that start adding up. That you want to necessarily consider a standing desk exercise, but it's like that. It's part of that need where you're standing, so you're shifting your weight, you're moving, you're getting things as opposed to sitting and just reaching, which is obviously using less of that neat than someone who would be standing or otherwise moving more.
I will say, I personally have never used a standing desk.
Yeah.
I do try to make it a point of, if I'm sitting down at my laptop and I'm working for an hour, just 2 minutes, just get up, walk around, go bother the cat, give the dog a hard time. That's not true because then he's excited and he wants to play.
That turns into 30 minutes.
Give the cat a hard time. Go take care of the other animals. Maybe just like walk outside. It's pretty. Okay, cool. Back inside. What have you?
For the day.
Also, the parking further away from the grocery store is phenomenal. If you're trying to lose weight, I cannot recommend that enough. Because you think it's such a tiny thing, and you're right, it is. But because it's such a tiny thing, it doesn't take long for you to stop even noticing or thinking about it, and it adds up so quickly.
Yeah.
So, highly recommend that one. And cool, yeah, there it is. So the reason why we just wanted to quickly touch on the 4 components is that way as we go on throughout everything else, we can just refer back to this and say, oh, so this affects this part, and you understand what we're talking about. But next we've got some points from an interview with Dr. Leynorn conducted by Jeff Nippard. Both great content creators. We enjoy both of them. Dr. Leynorn again. World record holding powerlifter. I know he held the squat record in his weight class for a bit. Bodybuilding pro card, PhD in nutritional sciences. Jeff Nippard Canadian power.
We won't hold that against him.
You won't. Trying to remember if it's powerlifting or bodybuilding. Jeff, I'm sorry, I watch all your videos. but the point is two people who we like. And in an interview, they were going over some of the patterns that you tend to see in people who take weight off and keep it off. Sam, would you like to touch on those points?
Yeah. So cognitive restraint. So like, I said we're trying to stop saying likes in the arms. There is discipline required to keep weight off once you put it on. That's kind of part and parcel. Like Mana said earlier, if you go back to eating the way you did when you were 40 pounds heavier with no changes, no modification, no nothing, yeah, you're going to start putting that weight back on. So there's a good amount of discipline required just to keep those patterns. When you're going out with friends and, everyone's getting whatever they're getting, you're out there to have a good time. You might have to make some adjustments. You might not be able to get, as many drinks as they're getting, or maybe, you substitute whatever the specifics are of your needs. But there is restraint. You are going to have to make some sacrifices if you do want to keep the weight off and not put it back on.
Yeah.
Because, again, if you go back to the patterns you were at before, where you're going to go back to where you were before.
Yeah.
And if that's with weight, the thing that always sticks out for me was playing football senior year, and you finish the season, hooray, it's great. And then for the next 3 months at lunch, you're eating like you were eating before football practice.
Yeah.
And that was never a problem when you were playing, when you're practicing 2.5 hours plus games and blah, 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 and weightlifting and all that stuff. But in the minute you turn that off, and then you go, by spring semester, you put on like 10 pounds. Like, where did this come from? It's like, that's right, I'm eating like I'm burning however many calories playing, football practice burns for you. So you do need to be monitoring and evaluating what you're doing moving forward, even once you've come out of your weight loss phase and you're in a maintenance phase, so you have bumped your calories up to a point of maintenance. That will be lower at a lower body weight than it was when you were 40 pounds heavier.
Yeah, and then like that sort of strength that also ties into just like the types of diets that we were talking about earlier, where we've talked about how flexible dieting, if it fits your macros, works very well for both of us. Because we like being able to pick up and, hey, this friend made this call to do this thing, and I want to do that with them, let's go. So that works well for us. However, I know people where if I try to tell them, hey, to lose weight, you've got to count calories and, God forbid, count macros, they're running far away.
They've checked out.
And that's where you do intermittent fasting. That's a form of diet restraint. Same with keto, paleo, just all of the above. So it can come in all sorts of different forms. Even like Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig.
Yeah, like people want to make fun of that, and it can, like, it's commercialized for sure, and it can seem silly, but at the same time, it's like, look, if they're doing this, and whether it's the points with Weight Watchers where eggs have X and turkey, whatever it is, if it's helping you to get a hold of your diet and it's helping you quantify and it makes it simple for you, makes it easy, go for it, like 100%. And if that's what keeps you consistent, do it.
All right. Next thing on the list, self-monitor regularly. So, what I personally try to take my weight every single day. I'll normally get at least 6 days a week. Worst case, just one day sleeping a little bit. All right, we got to get to the gym. I'm just in too much of a rush, and by the time I realize that I haven't, I've already got my pre-workout meal in me. It's a little too late. It doesn't have to be a daily thing. It definitely should be regular. The point is just that regardless of what your weight goals are there, whatever your body composition goals are there, just having a way of tracking your progress, even if you're not logging it, even if you're not jotting all this down, tracking like rate of change, like you can go very intense very quickly. But even if it's just, I take my weight every 3 days, and then I realize that, okay, in in 3 weeks, hey, this entire time my weight's been staying level, and I was supposed to have lost 4 or 5 pounds at this point.
Yeah.
And then at that point, okay, what does this mean? Is there a reason that just today could have been a weird spike? Or does this mean that I need to adjust things in order to get the results that I'm saying I want?
Yeah. This is why, and I think that's why it should be regular, because if, I've had like, a 5-day period where I'll go up and then back down and up and stuff like that. That's kind of normal. Just water and what you do, blah, blah, blah. But if, like I said, over a month period, you think you should be losing weight and you're gaining, or you're staying steady might, I've definitely kind of had recently where I'm noticing physical differences. Yeah. The weight's not moving as quickly down as I'd like. That's one thing. But again, I have the data points, and I can go in and say, okay, is this something where I need to adjust calories? Do I need to up whatever it is? But if you don't have those data points, you can't make those accurate assessments. So regularly, whatever that regular is, 3 days a week, daily, whatever it is, do it regular so that you can get the requisite data to make the proper adjustments if needed. Next one, exercise regularly. We touched on this earlier. Dr. Lane Norton backed it up. You should be exercising, getting to, whether it's to the gym, to the park, walking around the lake in your neighborhood. These are it's helpful. It's good. We've talked before about just the benefits of exercise. So just go listen to that episode and plug all that in here as well. You should be getting some kind of physical exercise in regularly. Again, doesn't have to be every day, doesn't have to be twice a day, but I mean at least 3 to 4 times a week, something 30 to 45 minutes, get that body moving.
Yeah. Next on the list, following some sort of a program. This overlaps a lot with cognitive restraint because having a structured program automatically provides you with a form of cognitive restraint. Which, again, I mean, even straight out of the interview, people like to make fun of Weight Watchers, and all those, but those people statistically do better than average, both at taking it off and keeping it off, as long as they continue to stay with the program. Something like, I really like It Fits Your Macros for the flexibility, but then also because it's so much more structured than anything I ever did, until 16 months ago. It's worked phenomenally well for me because now I've got numbers in front of me that I can adjust based on how I'm doing. And, okay, I'm happy with the rate. Keep it here. I want to speed it up. Okay, just bump this number down or bump the exercise number up. And one way or another, it allows me to look at what I'm doing and know that this in means this out. You don't have to, once again, you don't have to go the very hardcore sort of numbers, and even like Jenny Craig will give you like points and all that. You don't have to do that. However, if you're following something that is structured, if you're following something that gives you guidelines that you're following, and these are your rules to be trying to adhere by, then that sets you up more for success from the start. The key is just in making sure that those rules are something you're going to be able to stick to long term. Again, not to try to push If It Fits Your Macros too much. It's just the one that has worked well for the two of us. Yeah. I think one of the biggest advantages of that, because of its flexibility, is that last year in the first half of the year I was doing my weight loss, and then in the next half of the year I was doing essentially weight maintenance. I put on 7 pounds in 6 months, which whatever, that's fine. Really, that's the goal.
If that's all that happens.
If that's how all of my lean bulks go, I'm living the dream. But if But at that point, just going back to more of a maintenance was the easiest thing in the world because I didn't have to relearn how to work in food groups.
Yep.
One of the big reasons why I've said that something like low carb would never work for me is, could I stick with it for 4 or 5 months?
Yeah.
Drop the weight? 100%, without a doubt. How would I react when I'm then reintroducing my favorite things that I haven't had in X amount of time? Honestly, realistically, probably binge.
Yeah. And what does that do to your mental state while you're in those 3 to 5 months of like constantly having to restrict and not like just the psychological literature on what works better of like positive reinforcement versus being negative reinforcement or having stuff taken away. Not craving, not like deeply wanting to do something is just so much healthier for you. And again, there's pros. You have to, like I said, we've talked about this before. If you have a specific goal, you get in on stage. Yeah, you're gonna have to kind of suck it up for 3 months, and it's not gonna be great.
Well, not even get on stage. Just like if you have any sort of the higher, the more ramped up your goal is, the more you need to ramp all these things up. However, like if it's I want to lose 10 pounds and I don't care what my time frame is, I just want to like do it in a way that I can like stick with forever. You have a lot more leniency than, for example, with me this year, where it's like, okay, starting off at 162, I want to get down to at least 140, then start going back up. And by the way, the second half of the year, I'm going to be training for a marathon and trying to like triple my hip thrust, add 100 pounds to my deadlift and 100 pounds to my squat, all at the same time.
Yeah.
The like nutritional strictness that I'm asking for myself is a lot higher than the guy who just wants to lose 10 pounds and doesn't get out of the timeline. And that's fine. That's different goals meet different things. Yeah. And also like I have way more leniency than the guy that is getting on stage or the guy that's getting on a platform. Because I'm still not as ramped up as anything they're doing.
Yeah.
But all in all, just having some sort of structure would allow you to do that. I also would argue with the psychological impact that you touched on. While I agree with what you said, I'd say it's like a 1-2 punch because what you said's the first one.
Yeah.
Then you get to the second one where now you start taking it and you're eating it uncontrollably because you haven't had this in so long. And then now you're sitting there like, I can't, like, you're unable to stop eating it, but you're also just like, I hate myself for eating this. I'm like, I thought I like was more committed.
I thought
like,
I
however
beat
you
this.
frame it, not even beat it, just like I was more committed. It's like I'm so disciplined. This is who I am, and now I'm doing this. Which is that's something that like you hear all the time about like people. It's like an adage that's been thrown around. It's like, hey, this is something you're gonna have after your first time getting stage lean, just the heads. I got a little taste of it last year because my last 3 months of my diet then were unnecessarily restrictive is how I'm going to go ahead and put it. And so coming out, like, July was just like a month-long binge for me. The fact that I like essentially put on like almost no weight is surreal. I do not understand how that happened. But yeah, you really don't know how that happened.
Medical mystery.
But even still, I was sitting there like, I can't believe, like, I'm not supposed to be eating this much right now. Like, that's not, like, I've been perfect all year round. I've stuck to everything I've said I wanted to. Like, what's going on? Whereas this year, I've given myself the freedom to just, you want a beer? Have a beer. Yeah. You really want some pasta right now? Go make some pasta. You can have that for dinner. Oh, that's going to put you 100 calories over?
Oh, no.
Like,
gotta gain 2 pounds of muscle real quick. And
well, first off, like, okay, 100 calories over every single day. Yeah. And now it's just a different diet. Also, like, most days, if I'm aiming for 2,000, I'm probably finishing at 1950.
Yeah.
1960. Finishing at 2,100 a single day just balances out.
Yeah.
And so, but like one, so so it's that 1-2 punch, and then also just now going at it for my second year in a row, like second go around, we've got last year's lessons, and then realizing that okay, what's important, what's actually getting me my results, and what am I stressing way too much about?
Yeah.
That doesn't really make any impact on where I am long term, and only serves to stress me out.
Yeah.
And going 100 calories over one day every 2 weeks, if that.
Yeah.
Because like today I really wanted some pasta. Is not gonna kill me.
No.
It's gonna be fine. All right, so that's 4 points down.
I actually don't know what the last one was.
So low recency.
Yeah.
So what that is, people that take the weight off and tend to keep the weight off tend to have more of an emphasis on long-term progress than short-term gratification. So it's more important to me to be where I want to be 6 months from now than have this. I think the example they used in the video is this donut right now. However, I do want to emphasize that this is a skill, not a trait. This is not something you're born with. You either have a long-term vision or you want short-term gratification. It's something you work on.
Yeah.
It's something I've gotten much better at across the last year and a half, and it's something that I'm going to continue to have to keep working on with some of my long-term goals. My skill set there still isn't where it needs to be. It's better than where it was, but it's a skill we're just going to keep developing. The reason why I definitely wanted to highlight that was just to show, hey, this is part of what you should be thinking about in your mind. If this is something that, okay, I really need this craving, like, obviously, if you deny yourself something you really like for a sustained amount of time, that isn't lending itself to being sustainable.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you're giving into every single craving whenever you want it, now you're not taking care of your long-term goals because you're prioritizing your short-term, like instant dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so that's. Again, if you want to hear those points explained by the experts, the interview is with Dr. Leighton Orn in an interview conducted by not Doctor, still Jeff, I love you.
You'll get there
if he wants to. But in an episode, an interview conducted by Jeffrey Nippert.
we can actually link that. We'll link that in the YouTube video description. We'll link that video so people can watch it.
Yeah.
All right. So, last little bit of knowledge before just kind of the wrap up. Setting your calories and macronutrients, if that's kind of the way you're going to go. There's a very complicated formula if you wanted to do it by hand, where you can plug and chug all the stuff. I have used, and I think you've sent me some websites that you just plug in your height, your weight, your kind of general activity, like how active is your job kind of thing. They give you some guidelines for that, and then your workout or activity kind of regimen, and then it will give you a good general number of weight gain, maintenance, and then weight loss. Obviously, the best way is you get your blood work done. You go through all this stuff. Most people don't have access to the.
Well, honestly, I would say just take one of those, any single one of them. Google it. There's no reason to plug any one in particular.
Yeah.
Because none of them are going to be that different in the results. And then try it. And if, like, it's not going to tell you perfectly anyway. Nothing will tell you it perfectly anyway. Short of you wanting to spend a couple $100 on what you should be spending absolutely nothing on.
Yeah.
And if you want to do that, take that a couple $100 and spend it on RD instead, and it'll probably get you better results for it. And then from there, it's really just that gives you a ballpark of your maintenance. So from there, okay, I want to lose a pound a week. Let's call it approximately a 500 calorie deficit a day. I'm saying approximately just because your maintenance was also an estimate.
Yeah.
And then go. And if that's causing you weight loss, cool, your maintenance was right.
Yeah.
If it's not, cool, it wasn't.
Yeah.
We're adjusted accordingly.
All data.
So if you're losing half a pound a week consistently, week upon week off that number, that number was probably a low ball.
Yeah.
And that's fine. High ball, excuse me. And that's fine. That's what it is.
Yeah. So just Google, calorie calculator. I mean, again, don't need to plug any specific one, but that you find them pretty quickly. And so yeah, those are the basics, the fundamentals broken down. We got 45 minutes talk about it. Again, we will link the interview with Jeff Nippert and Dr. Lane Norton. This kind of final wrap ups. Again, consistency, like whatever, and we've talked about this many episodes before about just that's important, but consistency. Whatever you choose, make sure it's something you can stick with and you can enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy it, there's probably ways to make you enjoy it. Whether it's a specific diet, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, keto, whatever it is. If it's something you can look forward to. Again, last week I talked about my order of meals. Like that's something that helped me enjoy my current diet program better, is just switching up the order in which I eat my meals. I can enjoy. I get home, coming home from work, I'm like, oh, sweet, I got my favorite one when I get home. That just keeps me from stopping at McDonald's. Any final little wrap ups?
Overall, just pick something that's consistent for you. At the end of the day, if you're trying to lose weight, it's more than possible. It's just something that when you kind of run into it without any sort of plan, that's where you start falling in that trap of the majority of people that take it off being more likely to put it on than otherwise. Pick something you can be consistent and stick with it. Don't be afraid to make small adjustments. And eat your veggies, kids.
Eat your veggies. Green things. Leafy green things. All right. Well, thank you for listening to this week's episode of Unsolicited Lifting Advice. My name was Sam. His name was Manas. Follow us on all social media platforms at ULA Podcast. Rate and review us on your podcast app. Watch, like, subscribe, comment on our YouTube videos. Send us topics to talk about. Again, this one happened. It's a conversation you had. So appreciate all the conversations we're able to have with y'all. We do enjoy your feedback. I've gotten some great feedback from some friends and listeners. We really do appreciate it. It means a lot to us. You like hearing us ramble for 45 minutes to an hour every week. Thanks, and we will see you all in the next one.
Have it going.